live stream, I accused Zach Stein and took that, and I accused him a few times, and I could have used that for personal growth, which is what I'm recommending. But one of the things that I did use for personal growth where I tried to use, is that I created a blog post called Dear Recruiter, which I then went into my inbox and responded to each recruiter with a link to this blog post. And so it says, and I added this header at the top of every blog post that says, being neurodivergent, I sometimes fail to communicate my thoughts clearly. So it's a bit of an excuse, but I think I'm neurodivergent. I know I have a little bit of dyslexia. So that's like, to me, obvious, right? I've struggled with that, especially when I was younger. And then even like OCD, so being like focusing in on something and ignoring everything else, I can get into that state of mind. And then I can even get into the ADD state of mind where I might even have like this, I might be very sensitive to other people's feelings. When it's almost like when my OCD is directed at the person and I'm really connecting with them. So I do think I have like these things that can make it challenging for me to communicate clearly. But anyways, dear recruiter, I am not seeking a new job, but if you are in contact with important people solving important problems, then I would be interested in consulting with those people if they are interested in learning and teaching. By the way, I think your job is one of the most important jobs because you can help solve one of the most important problems facing humanity, the human resource problem. So if you think your organization's decision makers are interested in solving this problem while teaching the rest of the world about the answers, please point me to your organization's website, which explains some of the answers to the HRP. Please do not reply about the organization you represent unless you believe the organization is solving an important problem, and you believe the organization is trying to learn, and you believe the organization is trying to teach, and you believe the organization is interested in meritocracy, and the organization has a website sharing evidence in support of your beliefs. Sincerely, Gavin Palmer. And so the human resource problem is basically the question of deciding, making decisions about hiring, firing, promoting, and demoting. And often these recruiters, they are just focused on the hiring process. And there's also firing process, promoting process, and demoting process. That's being ignored by most of these people in this industry who send me emails. I shared my yesterday's live stream and got some feedback about minute 55, but I'm going to lead into minute 55 here, where they are at. And so every community is like that. So like you could look at like John Vervaeke and his community, and the problem they are trying to solve is the meaning crisis. Okay. It's not a, so what that means is John Vervaeke is experiencing a crisis of meaning. And so how do you solve that problem? Well, him and his community have not solved that problem yet. Because if they did, John Vervaeke would be able to point at it, right? And then he would be able to see, oh, well, the next problem, right? Because there's going to be another problem after that one. The next problem after solving the meaning crisis is that we need to learn how to we need to be able to learn and do error correction, right? Because it took us a long time to solve the meaning crisis within our community. What could we have done differently as a retrospective in order to be more efficient in our ability to solve a problem? Because the truth is that there's thousands of problems to solve. And if you get stuck on this one problem for like 4 years, you're just not gonna, the end point, wherever you get to on your path, is not going to be as far as another organization that solves the meaning crisis in a week, right? Um, and so they theoretically could win the race, right? They could be further along than the John Vervaeke ship, to use a. I think Grimgross talked about the Discord servers are like ships, which is interesting. There's a word called worship, so worth ship. Shout out Grimgross. I want to follow that up with three things. I don't know what order to put them in because I am neurodivergent. But my ship is about human resources and technology. And so, I struggle. There's some tension between, can the technology solve the problem? And do we need the technology? Because I think the humans and like just, you know, ideas and processes that humans take seriously can work. And so I have different ideas in those categories. And so like one idea is that where there's more of a focus on technology is that each individual human has a device in their hand which is leading them toward the ideal path and is interconnected with all other humans in order to help solve this human resource problem, such that people with their interests and skills are able to organize together in order to be effective and productive. And so that's the technology side, and you can say, oh, the AI does it, the artificial intelligence does it. Or you can say, well, how could humans try to do that? And that's where it's potentially as difficult as something like the economic calculation problem, which is, I think, is it Mises or Friedman? They both, I think, agreed with the idea that this economic calculation problem is something that just humans can't solve. So there is that possibility. And so, in economics, you would have pricing, which allows these like disorganized individuals to use prices in order to kind of organize as effectively as possible. And that's what you do when you can't do central planning. And, perhaps with technology, we increase our ability to manage organizations at scale to the point where we are leaning heavily on artificial intelligence as well. But I don't think what John Vervaeke isn't necessarily struggling with a meaning crisis. He might be, but he might not be, because sometimes people can overcome that obstacle and then can stand there and say, come on guys, you can do it. Come on guys, you can do it. It would be nice if there were people on the other side ready to receive those who have done it in order to say, okay, here's the next step along the path. So there's a way to make that more effective. And that just leads to, what Chad, the alcoholic, always brings up. I've heard him read this twice now. The last time was on Post-Platonic. It's a Spotify podcast where Jacob Faccirecci has hosted the first 7 episodes, and Chad the alcoholic hosted the 8th. And the 8th one was about Bill W. And Chad reads the Stand by the Door by Sam Schumacher.
I stand by the door. I neither go too far in nor stay too far out. The door is the most important door in the world. It is the door through which people walk when they find God. There's no use my going way inside and staying there when so many are still outside, and they, as much as I, crave to know where the door is. And all that so many ever find is only the wall where the door ought to be. They creep along the wall like blind people with outstretched, groping hands, feeling for the door, knowing there must be a door, yet they never find it, so I stand by the door. The most tremendous thing in the world is for people to find that door, the door to God. The most important thing any person can do is to take hold of one of those blind, groping hands and put it on the latch that only clicks and opens to the person's own touch. People die outside that door as starving beggars die on cold nights in cruel cities in the dead of winter. Die for want of what is within their grasp. They live on the other side of it, live because they have not found it. Nothing else matters compared to helping them find it, and open it, and walk in, and find Him. So I stand by the door. Go in, great saints, go all the way in. Go way down into the cavernous cellars, and way up into the spacious attics. It is a vast, roomy house, this house where God is. Go into the deepest of hidden casements, of withdrawal, of silence, of sainthood. Some must inhabit those inner rooms and know the depths and the heights of God, and call outside to the rest of us how wonderful it is. Sometimes I take a deeper look in, sometimes venture in a little further, but my place seems closer to the opening, so I stand by the door. There is another reason why I stand there. Some people get part way in and become afraid, lest God and the zeal of His house devour them. For God is so very great and asks us all, and these people feel a cosmic claustrophobia and want to get out. Let me out, they cry, and the people way inside only terrify them more. Somebody must be by the door to tell them that they are spoiled for the old life. They have seen too much. Once taste God, and nothing but God will do any more. Somebody must be watching for the frightened who seek to sneak out just where they came in, to tell them how much better it is inside. The people too far in do not see how near these are to leaving, preoccupied with the wonder of it all. Somebody must watch for those who have entered the door but would like to run away. So for them too, I stand by the door. I admire the people who go way in, but I wish they would not forget how it was before they got in. Then they would be able to help the people who have not yet even found the door, or the people who want to run away again from God. You can go in too deeply and stay too long, and forget the people outside the door. As for me, I shall take my old accustomed place, near enough to God to hear Him and know He is there, but not so far from people as not to hear them. And remember they are there too. Where? Outside the door. Thousands of them, millions of them. But more important to me, one of them, two of them, 10 of them, whose hand I am intended to put on the latch. So I shall stand by the door and wait for those who seek it. I had rather be a doorkeeper, so I stand by the door.
So that's my thoughts that I wanted to share. there are questions, and I think it's related to the human resource problem. When and I think there are metaphors. So like there, we're on a path, and we are facing kind of the biggest problem at that moment. And there are other people who are facing a very similar problem, if not, I mean, it's almost identical, but very similar problem. And there are people who have solved that problem, and there are people who will get there one day, who may get there one day. And then there can be multiple answers to a problem, right? So one person's answer for solving that problem, if there is a door which represents that problem, then it's not like there's one answer, that there has to be one answer for everyone. But there's a question of, well, what does it look like as you've walked through a door and you continually going through one door after another as you go toward the ideal, right? The ideal state where you've managed to learn a lot and you might have a lot to teach. That's and then how do you identify the people who have done that learning and teaching? Because if you are on the other side of the door and you can't even see it and you're groping for the door, how do you even know what it looks like? Because I know we can be tempted to believe that that person's not progressed and transformed beyond where I am. We can be arrogant and blind to the progress of others. And so the human resource problem, I think it cuts all the way to each individual in, and learning to be humble. I'll repeat the thing that stands out in Jonathan Haidt's The Coddling of the American Mind is speak as if you know and listen as if you don't know. That sounds pretty good. And one way to listen is to use technology. So you can go to my website and go to the contact link, herolfg.com. So I hope you have a good day. I'm going to finish my breakfast. Oh, I want to remind people about what all the things that we can be grateful for. My wife and my children, we've developed a practice and a habit of saying, I'll put it this way, my 4-year-old will say, let's do our gratefuls, or she'll say, let's do our grateful for. And so we go around and say what we're grateful for. And yesterday I noticed at first it was difficult for me to identify what I'm grateful for. And I know what I've said in the past. And I know that my children will kind of repeat the same things that they hear. And so I wanted to be genuine and sincere. And so I basically said something like, the number of things I'm grateful for are innumerable. And the way I tried to communicate that to the family is I said, let's try to list out all the things that go into the meal that we are having right now. So I'm thankful for this meal, but let's start being thankful for everything that went into this meal, which it does the John Vervaeke phrase that he likes to say is a combinatorial explosion. And so you can be thankful for the chair that we're sitting in, and you can be thankful for the person who designed the chair, and you can be thankful for, the materials that were used in the chair, and the factory, and the person who designed the factory, and you can be thankful for those people and their ancestors, and the person who helped cook, and then the person, the people who, everything, electricity, the home, and it ends up like I joked about it. I said, let's start to identify everything connected to this meal that I'm thankful for, and I joked and I said, in the beginning, right? Because it does. It goes all the way back to the beginning, whatever that is that we can be thankful for. So, and everything is like that, including this device. So there's plenty to be thankful for, but it can also be very easy to forget all of that which is available to us to remember and appreciate. It's very easy for us to forget all that, and that's the way we were made.